Hello, friends and listeners, party people. Welcome to part 1 of the Party XP Anniversary Specials. In this episode, Jeff and I wanted to go through our first year together and put together some segments that we really enjoyed looking back upon. We considered doing everything in one recording, but then we realized we might have ended up with a 2-hour, 3-hour plus episode, especially since we had a lot to catch up on with each other in person. So to keep ourselves sane, as well as for you, the listener, we broke it down into 2 parts. Today's episode will be the anniversary clip episode, and we will be back next week with part 2 with an in-person discussion. So sit back and enjoy some of our favorite moments from the first year of us doing the show together. Thank you all so much for listening. Enjoy the episode. This first set of clips comes from episode 3, Crypt of the Necrodancer. Jeff did not like this game. I really enjoyed this one. We both love them games. I love roguelikes. I thought this might have been up his alley. Apparently not. I was very wrong in this read. Pretty good rant here from Jeff. I got a couple retorts in, and yeah, I just think this was really funny. And pretty early on, we were able to get our first episode that where one of us didn't like the other's recommendation. Enjoy.
Okay, so now that we're back and we've gotten Crypt of the Necrodancer under Jeff's hands and let him, kind of just go off on his own and explore the game. Let me know how you feel. What are your first impressions about the game?
All right. Okay. So first impressions of the game were, this is kind of cool. This is a fun, charming little game. I started as the main character, the girl on the cover art. I don't know her name.
Her name is Cadence.
Cadence, that's right.
Fun, yeah. And everyone's names are musical related to, which I find kind of cute.
Right, and at first, you kind of get your feet wet, right? And you're trying to figure out the game, and you die a lot, and it happens like that, right? Where you're in that intro phase, the first couple of tries, and doesn't go really well.
Yeah, you die,
you're trying
repeat,
to learn the mechanics.
Die, repeat, play, die, repeat kind of deal. Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to know how long I managed to play this game for?
Go for it. I was hoping you were going to play this for a while and enjoy it.
73 minutes, because if I played it for 74, I would not be here talking to you, because I'd either be dead from a heart attack or I would have strangled somebody. This is without a doubt the most frustrating game I have ever played in my entire life.
Are you serious?
I hate this game.
What?
I hate them. I hate Crypt of the Necrodancer. I hate this stupid game. I'm so frustrated. Every single time I logged into this stupid game and tried to play it, I got through like 15 minutes and I said, forget it. I'm done. I'm done.
Really?
No,
what happened?
Oh, yeah.
What happened? What made you so angry about this game?
Okay. Roguelikes are already difficult enough as it is. Rhythm games are already difficult enough as it is. Now I have to play them at the same time. Okay?
Yeah, I thought you liked it.
I thought so too, but you know what? I guess not. And honestly, so that's one issue. So the only way this game was even playable for me was playing as the bard. And I guess we'll talk about that a little more later, because the characters change the way that the game functions, right?
Yeah,
they each have their own set of
mechanics and like movement
right?
Mechanics and game mechanics. Yeah.
Correct. So not only is it incredibly frustrating, and look, not to go off on a side tangent here, but I understand there's a subset.
Honestly, go for it. Honestly, just go.
No,
I want to hear your thoughts. Go for it.
No, but I am from the school of get good, right? That I do want.
You grind games out. You play fighting games. Like, you were literally in the get good or you're just not going to enjoy this game kind of deal.
Right. So I understand that there is a level of get good. So please understand, dear listener, that I understand that I am not good at this game, but there is a difference between not being good at this game and wanting to get better and wanting to never play this game ever again. And that's where I am with this.
Oh, man, this hurts to hear, Jeff.
I never want to play this again. I cannot wait to uninstall this game. I am going to film it, and I am going to share it with our viewers when I uninstall this and get this out of my life forever. The combat is frustrating. Everything's just frustrating. And it gets to the point, especially once you finally manage to get past World 1, you finally get to World 2, and everything hits harder, everything hurts you for most of your health. And now look, should I have put more time into it to get the permanent upgrades? Yes, I get it. Again, like I understand that I'm coming from a place that kind of sounds like I need to get good. And you're right, but I don't want to get good at this. I would rather just play something that makes me happy, and this isn't it. You're gonna lose everything if you get hit anyway in this fucking game, so who cares?
I mean, that's the thing. Just don't get hit. That's what I do.
Yeah, play absolutely perfectly every single time you play this stupid fucking game and these stupid fucking roguelikes.
Go to music school for 5 years, get a degree, and
Yeah,
just play
get-
record dancer.
Just get fucking good, scrub, dumb fucking loser.
I actually used this game once to teach music to my kids.
Those poor children. No one... God.
I mean, like, they happen to enjoy it, so there's that.
But honestly, that should make you proud because they are trying to break through walls in something so they can carry that over to music and they can be better musicians because they are learning how to break through. They're learning how to be successful in things. Even if it is a video game, you can use the same skills, which is basically just study and practice and get better, right? And just keep on grinding. If it works in video games, it'll work in music, it'll work in writing, it'll work in anything else in life. I hate to always bring it back to this, but it was a really big time for me is when, you know, I started putting in the work in Street Fighter 4 to sort of take that next level. And the amount of notes that I took and studying and learning, I applied that to being in college, and I like got onto Dean's List. My GPA skyrocketed, even though I was dicking around playing video games a lot. I actually was doing better in school because I was learning how to take better notes. I was learning how to study better.
How to like put your head, like, head down, focus kind of situation, right?
Right. And I think that I credit it to the work that I put into fighting games to get better, to teaching me how to study in school and how to best take notes and how I learned more effectively, right? I definitely think that if you're listening to this and you are someone who gets serious with any aspect of life, just keep in mind that you can transfer those skills, those same habits, those same things into anything else that you do. So, don't think of it as just some stupid game, right? I think with our generation and sort of the generations coming up, I think people are understanding of games more than maybe our parents and grandparents would be. But don't think of these things as just stupid hobbies that, number one, you can't apply lessons that you've learned to other things in life. And I only say this because I'm someone who basically for the last, hour here, maybe 50 minutes, has railed against a game that I didn't put any time into and I don't want to get better at, which is also how I feel about complex mathematics, algebra and trigonometry and all that.
Yeah, I don't need to do this, so I won't.
Right. I don't want to get better at that, so I'm not going to. But if you find something that you're passionate about and you do want to get better at it, then you'll put in the time and you'll do it. You can transfer those skills into other facets of your life. I just want to leave people with some positives here because, again, basically the entire answer to me is just get good, scrub. But, nah, I'm good.
This one's not for you. Okay, that's fair. I want you to give this one more shot, maybe down the line. Give it a month break and try it again, just to see if you change your mind on it. But again, you're not. Not every. I'm surprised you were actually like the first person who I recommended this game to, and just just bounced off this game.
Yeah, I know. I was shocked. Like when it set in that like, oh, I don't like this. This is just not fun for me. It was weird to me because it was just like I should really like this.
We were stoked. We were stoked for this episode.
We were.
Yeah, like it's fine. I guess we ripped the Band-Aid off where we finally found a game in our show. And it's relatively early, 3 episodes in, we found a game that one of us just did not like and just did not enjoy. So I saw you playing a little bit more today. How much time did you get into this game?
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Please don't lose this, because I'm gonna have one shot basically to talk about the game at like an entertaining level.
This next set of clips comes from episode 8, VTubers. This was our first non-gaming episode. Jeff lightly ribbed me actually behind the scenes, before we even started the podcast, of why I consume this type of content so much. And once we actually did this episode, we actually had a pretty good discussion about why I enjoy this type of content so much. We also ended up in a discussion about the separation of streamers and content creators and the consumers, the viewers, and a little bit of the weirdness that kind of comes with also being a female streamer versus being a male streamer online nowadays. Pro wrestler Mace streams as a VTuber on Twitch, and he has said in an interview, or I think on our comment during one of the streams, that both professions were literally the same thing.
Yeah.
So for hearing it from like a wrestler, like actually seeing the clip of him saying it, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So there is like this clearly like this like bridge or this connection that these two seemingly very different things actually have very much so in common.
Oh yeah. Mace is formerly Brennan Williams. He used to play for the Houston Texans, and then when his football career ended, he transitioned into professional wrestling. He started working for Booker T's promotion. You might remember that name. Booker
I know Booker T. That's a Spinaroonie guy,
so he
right?
started working for Reality of Wrestling. Yes, the Spinaroonie man. Very same. So he started working for Reality of Wrestling, and then he got picked up by WWE, and throughout his career, he's always been a big anime fan. He was infamous. I believe he brought a Dakimakura to training camp.
Oh, that's awesome.
Don't quote me on it.
He's a cultured man.
So it's been a week, and I've watched enough VTubers for me at least.
Oh, okay. So okay, yeah. Let's
no.
Oh, okay.
It's not that bad.
Okay. No. You didn't hate it as much as you thought you were going to.
No. So I don't hate them. Okay. I don't hate it.
Okay.
This is going to fringe into a very special episode territory. I will tell you that. Because I get them. Like, I understand VTubers. I know why they're popular. I know why people like them. They're not really for me, but I get it. And I think they're important.
Okay.
And I'm excited that these people are finally going to have a chance to exist in this streaming world, right?
Yeah.
And exist in this content creation world as something that feels more authentic to their true selves than maybe their own physical appearance.
So let's go ahead and get into your opinions, I guess, then. So, or I guess even how we got started down this rabbit hole for you. I gave you the topic, and then what was the first thing I guess you looked up? Because I threw a couple recommendations out at you into our chat. And did you go by those right away, or did you just say, I'm just going to go ahead and make a new account, put in VTubers, and to see what happens?
No, yeah. So I looked for the people that you recommended.
Okay.
And it didn't pop up.
No. Not
like nobody, I guess because their streaming times and the times where I'm online don't really match up.
Okay.
I guess because they're maybe overseas or what have you.
Yeah. I mean,
or whatever.
Or like what? Not even like clips of them though. I'm assuming clips showed up, but maybe not the streams themselves if they weren't.
It might not. It might have been that. Okay. It might have been the case where I didn't see them live, and I wanted to see them live because I wanted to be able to see them in the wild, right? I wanted to be able to notice what how they interacted with people while they were actually live streaming. I did watch the clips, and I was able to see, and it's like yeah, like I get it, but the difference for me was like the clips just kind of seemed like normal clips. Just like you would normally watch a normal content creator's
right?
Clips.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's all the same kind of style, especially nowadays with everyone has this like kind of jump cutty kind of aesthetic to their videos, right?
Right.
And again, a lot of the clippers that are out there right now for VTubers are fans. They're not hired by the company. There are a couple who are hired by if they're from a company or hired specifically for that VTuber if they're an independent VTuber. But a lot of them are just like, editors who may edit for other people as well. But there's like, hey, I really like this VTuber. I'm going to edit clips for them, like funny highlight moments or whatever. And it just comes down to, I guess, in terms of what kind of content you're looking for in the first place.
Right,
so
for sure.
you said for you, clips was like mostly, I guess, what you kind of saw, since you couldn't really find a lot of the streams anyway, at least in terms of like timing, essentially, right?
Oh no, I found plenty of streams. I
Okay.
didn't find the people that you recommended.
Okay.
So I was watching people. The main thing that I used this opportunity for was to watch these VTubers play games I wanted to learn more about. So
Okay. Yeah,
I
that makes sense.
watched a couple of VTubers playing Tower of Fantasy, which is that new Genshin Impact-esque kind of, anime girl beat 'em up game.
Yeah. I saw a lot of them putting up videos recently of that because it just came out. So.
And I also watched a couple of VTubers play the the Lamb game. I can't think of it
Cult
right
of the
now.
Lamb.
Yes, thank you.
Great game, by the way. If you get your hands on that, go ahead and play that one too.
Yeah. So I watched some people play that, and like my original notes, just off the cuff, were the following: like, do they ever stop talking? I know why they talk often. It's because they don't have the ability to emote using their hands or other sorts of visual stimuli as if they were filming themselves, right?
Yeah, like a regular streamer, basically.
You're right. Your virtual avatar is limited in what it can do. So in order to stay engaged, you have to basically comment on everything. You can't sit there in silence for too long, because then it's just a picture of a 3D model over a video game, and it's not engaging to people, right? For me, coming from like that traditional media background, it was a little tough to sort of, I don't want to say tolerate, but that's kind of the best word that I can use to describe it. Is that it was tough, and honestly, it bordered on obnoxious for some of the VTubers. Even though I know they weren't being obnoxious and they were kind of just, doing what they're supposed to do. I don't know, something like the crotchety old man in me kind of was like, oh my God, shut up. You're so obnoxious.
Give it a moment to breathe. Let the moment play out, kind of deal, right?
Right. You have to, right, exactly. When you say something or when you do something or if something funny happens. So like the one girl I was watching playing Tower of Fantasy, right?
Do you have a name?
Cherimu. Cherimu.
Cherimu, okay. I think I've heard the name.
He got like obliterated by the boss after respawning and running all the way back down to the boss fight. And normally, like I would just sit there in silence, and I would just
this is like a moment of you seething, basically.
Right, exactly. But she didn't shut the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Okay. I think it's because there's a couple ideas that I used to have in my head anyway. I think first off, in streaming in general, I don't like backseaters. That's like, especially if you're the person streaming and you already know what you're doing, or you have a partial idea of what you're doing, and say you want to figure things out by yourself. That's perfectly fine, right? It's partially that, and then also I think partially there's a bit of it that is a little bit toxic at the same time. I don't like using that word in general, but it's the like, it could be also because a lot of them are female as well too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people do react like, oh well, so like first off, there's already the separation of like a female, like a woman who just plays video games, right, or a girl who plays video games, right? There are some shitty guys out there basically who just think, oh no, I already know better than them, so I'm just gonna tell them what to do. And then now we create another barrier in front of that as well. It's like, oh well, you're a female who's not even like brave enough to show her face. You're hiding behind an avatar. Now there's another degree of separation there on top of the fact that there's internet and anonymity. I think.
Oh no, I get it. Yeah.
And I think that like a lot of that gets stomped out if the streamer is doing not even just a VTuber, but if the streamer is doing a good job of letting the chat know they don't accept certain things in their chat in the first place, right? You create boundaries for yourself and for your chat,
right?
And I think people who do react very relatively like aggressive to it are the ones who I think even if they were streaming as a regular person wouldn't do a very good job of creating those boundaries. Because the ones that I watch actually like are kind of cool with having their chat help them out if something happens or they miss something. You know what I mean? It might also come down to personality, but I think that's
Right.
I think where I see it as like why some of them are very defensive, especially when it comes to backseating or some of the comments in chat.
Right. And I'm glad you brought up the gender of the people, because this is what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about this being a very special episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, there are male VTubers,
Yeah.
but a lot of the people that populate these are behind the VTubers are women,
Yeah.
whether they're biological or they're trans women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think VTubers are incredibly important for those people, and especially right with someone transitioning, I think it can mean a lot to them to be able to present as a woman and maybe not have the negative attention from people that just want to stir the pot, right?
Yeah.
So people
Yeah.
come in and be like, "Oh God, what the fuck is that?" That's fucked up. And I think VTubers give these people a chance to live their truth in a sincere and earnest way. And so like that's kind of goes back to what I said. Like I think they're important and I think they deserve to exist. I just don't know if they're for me. But I hope they don't go anywhere, and I hope this stuff kind of continues to take off, because I think it's important for these people to get more people into streaming and into video games and into these communities that maybe would be afraid to stream, to show their face. They don't have the confidence. They're nervous about the way that people would interpret them or look at them, and they have this safety net, right? This basically like the substitute in Pokemon. I'm sure there's a better term for this, but you know how you have the substitute in Pokemon and you replace it with the doll,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it takes all of the attacks and things. It serves as like that buffer between the real person behind the avatar and the unfiltered, unmitigated people, weirdos on Twitch.
Yeah, like I remember the first time when I guess VTubers became, I guess, like not mainstream, but I guess the first time they dipped into the rest of streaming culture. I remember it was like Pokimane or Lily Pichu, one of them. Like one of those, like, one of those popular female Twitch streamers, right? And it might have been Pokey. It might have been both of them for all that matters. But like I remember them saying like there are certain days they just don't feel confident. They don't want to be in front of a camera. You know what I mean? But then people are like, "Oh, why isn't your camera on? Why aren't you showing your face when you're streaming?" And it's like maybe they just don't feel like it. Well, if they were a guy, would you question it? You know what I mean? Like how many male streamers are there who people come just there for gameplay and hearing them talk?
Right.
But because they're female, and then like the guys who have like, I guess, not like feelings towards them, I guess, but it's like, oh, in the back of their mind, it's like, oh, I want to see them. You know what I mean? Like in a maybe a slightly creepier way, I guess, right? Horny. Yeah, horny. There we go. Horny way. Thank you for just saying it. I guess in the most simple way for me, just get the message across. But yeah, like, oh, but like I want to see you. It was like a guy or girl, like, there are certain days you just don't feel great about yourself. You know what I mean? But especially if you're a streamer and that's your job, you still have to show up. It's a way for them to still feel somewhat comfortable while still having like a face presented out to the forward facing public, right?
Like
it may not be their face, but it's a way for them to still have a way for them to have something to, like, especially for the viewer to look at and connect the voice to. Editing Lacan here. By the way, the term I was looking for was like a weird parasocial relationship and slightly possessive. That's what I was looking for here. Jeff helped me out, and then I ended up figuring it out afterwards.
Right. And the other thing too is your VTuber avatar can be whatever you want it to be. It can look however you want it to look.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want a new hairstyle, or if you want to change the way it looks, or if you want to give it a new outfit or whatever, like you control all of that. And it's easier to edit a 3D model or a 2.5D model than it is to, I don't know, get plastic surgery if you're not confident in the way you look, or if if you're going through that transition, and let's say you still have your Adam's apple, or you still have something feminine, right? If you're going female to male, right? You still have your breasts, right? You have to tape them down. If you're a VTuber, you don't have to worry about that. And that's it's kind of why I think it's important, man. And I'm happy that these people can do it. Like I throughout my travels, I couldn't tell you who they were, but I definitely stumbled on a few people that were pretty obviously like trans women
Mm-hmm.
doing this. And I'm like, good for you, man. Like, honestly, good for you.
And I remember expecting, I was like, I'm gonna get rinsed for this, but like for some reason, I just feel compelled to share this girl doing something funny. You know what I mean? I got a couple jabs from you guys, but it's mostly it's all in jest, obviously.
Right.
It's just like they're like, okay, this is what you're into now, Lacan? Okay, we see you. I was like, I can just feel the judgment, just like, oh no,
Yeah.
oh no, they think I'm weird. Again, you said what was the major point again for you? What was the major point again for you? Is like you understand what it is. You're not the biggest fan of it.
I support it. I
support
get it. I just don't think I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole. I think once in a while maybe, but I think that's about it.
Do you at least think you find those random funny out of context clips like Sakura Miko playing GTA 5 are like enough for you to like enjoy at least?
Yes,
like
it's funny as hell.
The shit posty stuff is more kind of like your speed, I guess, in terms of this stuff, right?
Like everything else in life.
Yeah, I get you. Okay. Yeah, so if that's the case, maybe if I find something funny, I'll just send it to you, and like at least you and me will be able to enjoy it. Maybe not everybody else in our group.
No, they won't because they're all boomers. But
yeah, they're very much so in their lane. I guess that's it. I'm glad that you gave it a shot.
Look, I'm not here ranting and raving about it, right?
I was hoping
it's a happy ending.
I was scared you was gonna trash this like you trash Crypto the Necrodancer. That's what I was scared of. This next set of clips comes from the pro wrestling episode 9, the one right after VTubers. Jeff got me to watch some more of modern pro wrestling, and we also did a little bit of a reach back to watch one of the WrestleManias. Again, I used to be an old pro wrestling fan, not so much anymore. I watch with my friends occasionally, but that's really about it. This was just a fun time for me to go back and get some nostalgia from some old wrestling stuff.
All right, friends, welcome back to Party XP. I'm Jeff, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Lacan. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I've done a couple things to rearrange my my setup here in my place.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Doing pretty good. I got a couple, just reorganize a couple things. I ended up actually getting another shelf for my clothes, and I also got another shelf for my figures here. Yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, listeners, I am a big fan of anime. I buy these anime waifu figures. Nothing extremely lewd. Just like they're usually pretty. They're actually pretty cute. I have some from Rent a Girlfriend. I have some from Demon Slayer. From ReZero. I have one from One Punch Man, and a couple from the Quintessential Quintuplets. So I had another shelf in my room where I had more of like my action figures, right? And so I had like a Goku, a Gundam, an Nendoroid from Sora from Kingdom Hearts, and I have some Tanjiros from Demon Slayer. And now, because I have another shelf in my room, I'm able to put them together, and it's kind of funny just like looking at the shelf, and I have like Goku, a Gundam, and Sora. And then underneath it, on the shelves below it, is just the boxes for the waifu figures. So it's just like for the waifu figures that are on the other shelf next to it. So it's just there now. So it's like
and then behind there's the ones in the jar. Right?
No. I'm not a full on degen. I just enjoy cute animated aesthetics. That's just my thing.
We spoke recently about VTubers and how similar they are to pro wrestling, and how you really get VTubers, but you don't really understand pro wrestling, and I'm the opposite. So I've been a pro wrestling fan basically my entire life, and I, for whatever reason, have taken to this thing that makes me miserable, but I really do love it when it's done well. And I don't, I didn't quite understand the VTubers. I understand them on like an existence level, right? I understand that there are people that maybe don't feel comfortable in their own skin, and so when they are behind this avatar, behind the VTuber personality, they do feel more secure and they're able to show their real personality, right? Others just use it as a creative outlet, right? Yeah. As a character that they've designed. And the more we talked about it, the more I realized that these two things are very similar, right? And we talked about Mace, Brendan Williams, the professional wrestler who has a VTuber, who is a VTuber, who has a virtual avatar. And he even mentioned that these two are very similar. And so I figured, since I'm going down the VTuber rabbit hole, why don't you go down some of the pro wrestling rabbit hole and see kind of where I'm coming from, and then a lot of our friend group is coming from.
I was a fan when I was younger. I like, that's absolutely a thing that I watched on a regular. I watched, back in the 90s when it was a WWF still, right? At the time?
Yes.
Yeah, so I watched WWF. I remember I was there for like, the heyday of like The Rock and Stone Cold, and I was a fan of a lot of the older wrestlers like Shawn Michaels, I feel like it's transcended a couple generations, right? I was a big fan of Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah. Ravishing Rick Rude. I know a bunch of the names, especially of the older generations, and like that late 90s, early 2000s gen. And then I think I personally stopped watching when I started wrestling myself, and not pro wrestling. I started doing I started wrestling in middle school, like collegiate style wrestling.
Lacan, please cut in the South Park meme, like the wrestling guy from South Park. It's like real wrestling.
It's in the Olympics. Yeah, I'll absolutely add that in. I'll find it.
Thank you.
That's not wrestling, dude. That's fucking gay. Yeah, what are you, a child molester? Where's all the cool costumes and jumping off ropes and stuff?
Oh, not this again. Let me guess, you just went to that stupid WWE show in Denver last night.
Yeah!
Ugh, the WWE is not wrestling. That's a bunch of fake bullcrap.
Yeah.
Like all of our friends who we
ended.
Who we knew were jocks, which is funny. Like we know friends who are jocks, or like, kind of like, you wouldn't assume them to be like, to be like nerds about this, but they're like, oh yeah, like I got the new Pokemon Diamond. I'm like, what? You? So it's like the same thing here. It's like, okay, like a little bit of like, oh, you still watch pro wrestling, and then like, and then like in high school and college, and then to this day, it's like, we have friends who, like, you guys are obviously fans of it, and then I find out other friends in other friend groups are like, oh yeah, I still watch wrestling, and I'm just like, what? Like, since when? I'm like,
wrestling's cool now, don't you know?
Yeah, I guess
wrestling's cool again, I should say.
I mean, like, I know a little bit of, like, I see people. One thing that I actually, short tangent here, but like, that Bullet Club shirt.
Yes, I know. I own one.
So I didn't know that was related to a wrestling organization. I thought that was like a Supreme type of deal. You know what I mean? Like the Antisocial Social Club. I didn't realize that was a thing. I didn't realize it was actually a wrestling thing.
Bullet Club is basically like the coolest, the new NWO, right? The new DX. They're the new cool faction that everybody wants. Well, it's been a little while since they've been like the one that everybody wanted to be a part of. They're still around. The merch is still cool, but for a time there, Bullet Club was like like I said, the NWO, the DX of this generation, where they were the cool group that everybody wanted to be a part of. And Lacan will have gleaned quite a bit about professional wrestling. So we will see you then.
I am the cream of the crop. The cream always rises to the top. Yeah. And then I also realized at this point there's a lot of cuts and like commercial breaks in the middle of matches, which throws me off. And then like clips and highlights from last week's event and teasers for next week's event kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like, I don't know. I mean, it could be just like an industry thing, right? Where like, they're on TV, they have to worry about all this stuff like ads and promotions and commercials, and it's just like, man, like I felt like I've seen YouTube videos with better editing.
You probably have.
Yeah, and I thought I was like, am I being too hard on this? You know what I mean? Because like I'm not really a fan of this, and I was like, I don't know, man. It feels like they're ruining the flow of everything that I'm watching, and I'm like getting actually aggravated. I like only like 20 minutes into this whole thing, and it's what 3 hours for an episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I had like 5 pee breaks in 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, sure. I'm gonna go get like some, I have a sandwich in the fridge. I'm gonna go grab that, I guess, since it's commercial now. Why not? Even though I DVR'd it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was like, I could just keep skipping through. But I was like, yeah, well, I'll go to, I'm gonna move along. Yeah, man, it's like the biggest thing. My first like main opinion on this whole thing was like they do a decent job of trying to like expand on last week's thing and create storylines and kind of lead into storylines for upcoming stuff. But because of the way that everything is cut and edited, it feels like I have ADHD and I can't keep up and can't keep track of everything, and it bothers me so much. And that's coming from a guy who watches a lot of YouTube, who does, and you know, a lot of the channels that I watch do these like high amount of like cuts and editing. You know what I mean? Like I watch like Unga Bunga Zoomer content sometimes. I do, and it's like, and I feel like I have a better job. I have a better experience following those than following a professional production like WWE.
Yeah, so go ahead, when we're done, go ahead and look up on your social media platform of choice. Probably Twitter would be the best. Go look up the name Kevin Dunn and see what people say about him.
Kevin Dunn,
in the context of WWE. Yeah.
Let me make a note real quick right now, then, so I can look up Kevin Dunn. 1 second. Kevin D-U-N-N, I'm assuming.
D-U-N-N, yeah.
Okay,
so Kevin Dunn is the head of WWE production, and nobody likes him.
Okay.
He is a controversial figure. Let's just say that.
Gotcha. Was he a former wrestler, or was he like
no
the person who was always on the production end of this whole thing?
Kevin Dunn's dad saved a lot of WWE footage from a fire, and Vince McMahon said that his son would have a job for life, and he meant it.
Oh, okay. So basically, he is not a person who's actually meant to have this job. He's literally here because of what's the word I'm looking for?
Nepotism.
Nepotism. Yeah, there we go. So this is like basically a full-on nepotism hire. I'm assuming Veer Mahan is like Indian or Bangladeshi or something.
Yes.
Okay. I never clarified. I never followed it up, but I was like, okay, like, so I was like, let me see what's going on here. My thought here was, I don't remember there being like a lot of notable. A lot, not any, but I mean, not a lot. Like I know the Iron Sheik, you know, was one, but like not a lot of Middle Eastern, Indian, Bangladeshi, Sri Lankan wrestlers. You know what I mean? Within like the pro WWE, WWF productions either. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. There's a lot more people who are like, I guess, more into this from other cultures, which is kind of cool. I always appreciate that was like a nice little appreciation thing for me, because one thing I do think about when I watch this stuff is that it does give people like a hero to look up to. You know what I mean? Like even if you, especially if you get into it and you're committed to the whole thing, where like the stereotype for wrestling is a lot of drunken white dudes, right? Just and I see there's a good amount of them in the crowd, yeah. But it's like, especially back then to now, I see a lot more diversity within the fan base, you know, which I appreciate, regardless if I watch the production or not. Even watching the WrestleMania a couple months ago, I think, right, with who was the chick with the with my hair back and forth chick,
Bianca Belair,
yeah. It was like seeing like young black women, like young black girls watching, you know, like a pro wrestler and having somebody to like cheer for. You know what I mean? And we can we'll touch on it a little bit more when we talk about the WrestleMania we watched together as a group, and you know, you explained some stuff through us. But it's like, yeah, like again, like that production was very, very white. You know what I mean? Like a majority of all the women's fights were white. A majority of the guys competing were white, especially with the one with the main storylines. But here it's like, especially nowadays, it's like, oh, it's cool to see more diversity and people who are like, you know, and not just because they're like diversity hires, but like there are genuine people who want to perform within this, you know, production, this product, and really enjoy themselves. And then, which also brings more people of other backgrounds into into the fandom, which I really appreciate. I like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because like when I was younger, it's like the only real connection that I had to pro wrestling was, I was like, man, I hope there's a brown dude there. Like, you know what I mean? I just want, like, I don't care if they're not even Asian or Filipino. Like, bro, Rikishi, I'll take it, bro. We're close. He's big and brown. I'll take him. Yeah. You know, like The Rock, I was like, I don't even know what he is. He could be Filipino for all I knew. Especially back then, he was very, you know, very like, people were not sure of what he was. So I was like, okay, sure, maybe he's Filipino. I'll take it. I had Yokozuna. You know what I mean? And even then, he wasn't even Japanese.
He was Samoan.
Yeah, like, and then that's when I realized that there's a lot of Samoans within, you know, back then when I realized Samoans were like very, very big in the wrestling scene. But like that was really it. You know what I mean? It was like a lot of like white wrestlers, black wrestlers, and then like Samoan wrestlers, and very occasionally you'll see an Asian dude, like an actual East Asian guy. Because, you know, we talked about New Japan, and there is a whole Japan wrestling league and a giant underground scene for them as well. I've mentioned the Great Okan is one of those ones that I've watched because he's a big fan of like
Right.
some VTubers that I watch. Again, I don't know how many of them are ever going to break into the scene here, into the mainstream popularity here in the US and the West. But it's cool. It is, in general, there's just more people more performers and wrestlers that people can of other cultures can get behind. And then they which led into the Lashley Styles match.
Yeah.
Again, and I thought same thing for when I saw and I know of Lashley because we've talked about him before in our group chat. He has a history outside of wrestling as well. Built like a absolute brick shit house. Just the absolute unit of a man. Like, and it's funny because the other people who he's fighting in the ring are also very much so big and jacked and in shape, but Lashley just looks absolutely built different.
Super. He's a unicorn. Like he is one of one.
Yeah, and also again, it's a championship fight, right? For them. All I could think was like, man, there's way more impact or better choreo or both or whatever. Just bigger hits, more stuff happening. I literally have almost no notes for this one because this one I absolutely just got lost in. Like this is the first match of the night so far that I was able to turn my brain off and just enjoy.
Again, it's you can tell the difference between people who are really good at this and people who aren't.
And there was just so much more from this episode that I wanted to put in here, but this episode was a 2-hour episode, and there's just so much for me to cover. And, there was a part that I really liked about the metal chairs, and anytime there were props that were coming out, basically my Unga Bunga part of my brain got really, really excited for. And again, there was just a couple times I said it, and I just couldn't squeeze all of it on into during those clips of the wrestling episode. This next section of clips comes from the Yu-Gi-Oh episode 11, and I got a lot of comments from my opinions on this game. I know Yu-Gi-Oh has a massive, massive fan base, and a lot of friends of mine still play the game actively, and this is probably the game or the episode that I had received the most criticism about in terms of my experience with the game and, I'm playing it wrong, or I built the wrong deck or whatever. For me, that's why I didn't enjoy the game.
But I think you'll have a fun time because I know you enjoy trading card games.
Yeah, so my trading card game of choice is Magic the Gathering, and I haven't really played actively as of late. Obviously, like I still have some of my main decks. I've torn apart a couple of them, and I've sold most of my extra cards at this point. So I kind of just have my 8 or 9 decks that I still keep as a kind of like a memento of when I was really, really actively playing. And, and just in case someone goes, hey, I want to play, Magic the Gathering, I'm looking to learn it. I have some decks that are relatively simple to learn and play. So that's kind of like my whole shtick, right? Like I like relatively not simple, but I keep a baseline of stuff around just so I can play stuff. Yu-Gi-Oh!
Thank you for just powering through me calling you a boomer when you started talking about Magic.
No, absolutely. I absolutely say that I chose the old man game compared to these young and spry Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic anime players.
These fucking Vanguard kids and their Digimons and all these other games.
Their Vice Schwartz and their Pokemans.
Ooh, speaking of Bratwurst or Weisswurst or whatever that other game is.
Yeah, Weisswurst, yeah.
Vice-verse, yeah, Vice-verse.
Fine, whatever. We'll take it.
Yeah, so I just bought a couple of singles, right? I'm building a dinosaur deck, and I'm on the final couple of cards before this thing is finally playable. And one of the vendors I bought cards from sent me 3 of the Vice-verse, or whatever this game is, cards.
Mm-hmm.
They're like these shiny little hollow anime girl cards that are in Japanese. I have no idea what they are. I have no idea what they mean, but I have them.
Nice.
So I'm 3 cards into a Vice-verse deck.
Maybe
When's the last time I played a Yu-Gi-Oh video game?
Yu-Gi-Oh video game? Ooh, probably middle school. I was probably 12 or 13. I had the Forbidden Memories, the one that
you're in for a fun treat.
The one that played nothing like the actual game, where you just combined random cards and just made random shit. That was
So, fair listener, you may not know this, but during the early era of Yu-Gi-Oh, there wasn't actually a card game for the game developers and even the manga artists to draw from. So basically, they were all kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see if it stuck. And that's why all those early Yu-Gi-Oh games and all the early Yu-Gi-Oh anime and manga seasons play completely differently and act completely differently from the actual card game. So you know, we're not talking about 8,000 lives and tribute summoning, and forget even any of the extra deck monsters that have come into play now. I mean, the moon, or like the zodiac system that Forbidden Memories has, right, where you have like Sun, Moon, Neptune, Jupiter, right? Those designations. That was something that they tried out that didn't end up getting included into the game. All the monsters are like 1,200 attack.
Yeah,
And then there's
basically.
also completely busted cards like Raigeki and Pot of Greed and Dark Hole and all that. So it's funny to go back and play those and see how completely different they are, and how things could have been so completely different had one of those ideas stuck.
But there's a big thing of like me just like I like to like sit down, especially when I'm building a deck, just sit down and have all the cards like sitting in front of me and just like try to figure out what goes where and what can work with what kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's not as much of that here. I mean, there is, because you can build your deck still and, you know, highlight all the cards and stuff. Oh god. Oh god, I'm choking myself.
Leave it in.
I can
Leave it all in.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm just dying.
That's fine.
I choked on my spit. I know one of you sickos love that. That's when I also remembered, oh, I should probably look at like see what the decks they have built into the game. And I saw there's Dragon Maids in there, and I was like, yo, let's go. This is my deck. I'm in. It's a Dragon Maids. I was like, they're cute. This is the deck made for me. I thought Super Heavy Samurais was my thing. No. Dragon waifu. This is exactly what I want. You have like an ELO attached to your account and your name, right?
Right.
Half the time I'm like, I'm just gonna play my solo green deck, my mono green deck, just because this is the deck that I like. I know it's not meta, but I'm gonna play it because it's the most fun thing that I have to play, and it's surprisingly useful still, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here it feels like, no, every person out online is out for blood. And it's like, yo, we're in rookie rank, bro. Calm down. You don't need to go ham.
Right.
And
No, and a lot of that stuff, like especially when you get people that are just starting, you'll get people best Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and then they'll just go by that. I think once you get to, honestly, I think once you kind of get to the higher levels, like me, you know, when you're in gold and platinum and diamond, and you're playing the casual modes, like you're gonna find people that are playing random strategies, or like for me, like I love playing Tunes, which is a very hit or miss deck in casual match. I like playing like Gaia the Fierce Knight decks. They're just fun. But there is a level of skill, and I guess if you want to call it sweatiness, that comes with every deck, because any deck needs to be able to special summon powerful monsters and get a card on the field that has, you know, 5,000 attack or 4,000 attack.
Yeah, of course, I understand that's the point of the game, but it's just like, again, you mentioned that it's like usually between turn 2 to turn 4. That's like most of these games are decided by then, right?
Right.
It is just so fast. That is like the biggest thing for me. I am like, again, like overwhelmed by just like how fast this game is, which is cool to some extent, right? Like I like the idea that like, oh, okay, I lost, cool, okay, move along, right? Just play again, just find another person, just play again, and hopefully my deck works out better the next time.
Right.
But it's like, the thing is, I feel like with other card games, it's like you feel like a sense of pride, I guess, to some extent, where it's like I'm playing against a deck that I know hard counters my deck, or like my deck can't particularly deal well with their deck, right? Let's okay, so let's just say I'm playing mono green in Magic the Gathering, right? It's just big beefy monsters, and then a bunch of little guys, right? And I just beef all of them up at the same time, and now you have to deal with it. Green doesn't deal well with like artifacts and spells that don't allow me to attack with certain monsters. Like, so if I play like against a blue-white control deck, a green deck can have a decent amount of trouble with it, like a lot of trouble with it, because I don't have things that can, you know, I don't have a lot of cards in green that like remove limiters on your cards, right? In the way I play green is like, okay, you locked up one of my big monsters, cool. I'm just gonna play another big monster, and hopefully you have to deal with him next, right? That's really it. And
Mhm.
in some cards like Shroud or like Hexproof, that's that like so it's like okay, you can't target my monsters anymore with spells and stuff, right? There or effects. It's stuff like that like the green usually has as like a defense towards that stuff, but for the most part, it's more just like if I'm playing against like a blue white control deck or a black blue or a black red, where it's just like I'll just destroy target monster or whatever or a creature, whatever. It's like I'm gonna have a bad time, but at least I can try to play it out and see how my deck plays out because it is slower paced, right? I can try to amass an army before I start getting locked down.
Mhm.
In Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like again like turn two, even if and especially when I have a bad turn one, like I just don't draw well for my first hand, right? And was there a mulligan option? I didn't see if that was
No.
no. Okay, yeah. So
Nope, you get what you get.
yeah, so there's that too. So it's like if you get screwed in your first draw, like there were plenty of times when I'm like, I'm taking 5,000 damage to the face in turn two, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, oh, like in my mind this one's over. Like and that's kind of defeatist of me. I tried my best to play stuff out. Right, I was like maybe turn two. I have some stuff. I have something in here that I know can negate damage. Like I've got something, or like return damage back to sender. I've got something. I know I do. Hopefully I draw it. Nope. Cool. Okay, game's over. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like I will try to play most games out, but there is like in that starting phase. It's like okay, I've taken 4,000 damage in turn two. I'm assuming my chances.
It's not over.
I know it's not, but it's like I'm assuming because of like the way, especially when I was still like getting the materials to properly build my deck. It was like I know for sure I don't have anything in here to remove stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is probably over for me. And like I'd pull a card, cool, surrender. I'm just gonna move along, find another game, go again. And then the more materials I got, the more I was able to get cards to fill out my deck to deal with stuff like that, right? Like just to cancel or negate damage or whatever. Or remove creatures from my opponent's side of the board. And
Mhm.
when I got to that, like when I was able to fill out my deck a little bit more, yeah, then I would play stuff out more often than not, and like like never give up hope on actually trying to make a comeback. But yeah, it's a very fast game, and
Mhm.
that's again kind of like the issue that I had with when I was playing with my friends were trying to teach me this again a couple of years ago of trying to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh. Not that Yu-Gi-Oh is not strategic.
Huh.
Absolutely, I'm absolutely not saying that. Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of strategy going into it, especially because you guys are so heavily focused on the early turns of the game, right? Instead of
Mhm.
trying to end the game as quick as possible. There's a lot going on there. But I think for me, I prefer a deck builder game that is more of a slow burn. Me being an old man and playing Magic the Gathering is like because there is a bit of like not like not like a paralysis to it, but again it's overwhelming. It's just like man, there's a lot going on, and I feel like I'm getting
Mhm.
shit on every time I play this. Every time I just go into a match, which it was. There was a lot of me getting shut on when I was getting into a match. I will absolutely swear that I'm not good at this game. That
Mhm.
being said, I do like the Dragon Maid deck that I have gotten to, and it feels comfortable enough that I can actually play it and actually win a couple matches. Yeah, I want to say like I think my win record right now in ranked is like probably like a point 5, point 6 or so.
Not terrible,
Not terrible. No, especially for
right? Considering you've never really played the game all that much lately.
yeah, at least in this style of Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Right.
No beat sticks, right?
Mhm.
Not terrible. I remember I lost a bunch of matches early on. Again, I'm playing the ranked mode. I
Right.
forgot what it's called because I know it's free duel and something else.
Yeah, ranked and free. That's it
Yeah,
for now.
yeah. So just ranked and yeah, like I went on a short win streak just because I got lucky off of the draw, first draw of the game, and the other person didn't.
I don't know if that's luck. That means your deck is consistent. If you're drawing well in your opening hands,
Yeah, but I think
right?
yeah, I guess, but it's also like again, I think that there's like a flexibility thing as well, which I enjoy about Magic the Gathering, if that makes sense, right? Like, okay, let's say I get a shitty draw for my first turn, right?
Mhm.
But because the game ramps up much slower, I have the option to try to bail on like an initial play style or some like play speed, and like okay, I can tank a couple hits early on. You know what I mean?
Like
Mhm.
I can get hit like 2 or 3 times in a row because no one's gonna have anything that's like a 10-10 on the field turn 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'll take 3 damage the first turn. Next turn, okay, I'll take another 3 damage. That's fine. Next turn, I'll take 8 damage. Cool. I'm still in the game. I pick a card style or an anime style like that, a monster style that I enjoy, and I'm just gonna run with it. And then I'll start playing other stuff later on, right? Like everyone knows Dark Magician, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Red Eyes Black Dragon, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I like waifus, so like dragon made deck. Like yeah, that's what I assumed was gonna be. I'm gonna see in like the low levels, right? But the fact that I was seeing like I have no idea what the hell this card does, and then like it just became like yes, of course, again like me learning what it does, but it's like, upon my first time seeing it, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna play the game and see how it goes, and then it's like anytime I did something, I felt like I was getting punished for it, even though they hadn't actually played anything. That
I
being
think just kind of from looking at Battle and Boxer, like a deck list or two here, I think the reason why you see it at the low levels is because all of the cards are rare or normal rarity.
Mhm.
So it's a very easy free to play sort of deck that you can putz through.
Yeah, a lot of the cards that I look, because you can see your opponent's card list, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
you
like,
can.
So I would look at that and just quick search, and I was like, okay, so I'm assuming that they're playing this because it is like a cheaper deck to play, right? You don't need to spend any money to play to get the cards, to acquire the cards for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just like it was really annoying. Like it was a lot of people playing that deck, and I was like, I'm not having fun.
Preach.
And I guess the last thing that I want to really get my thoughts out on here specifically is I'm gonna allude to something that I mentioned in our first episode of our podcast, which was Slay the Spire, right? Where
Go on.
in Slay the Spire, it is incentivized for you to break the game, right, to some extent, by building a deck that breaks the game and does so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine because you're playing against a CPU. In this game, you want to do the same thing, right? Because you're playing against another person. So they're actively trying to do the same thing to you, which doesn't feel good if you're on the receiving end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, you could attribute you can toss it up to like, well, then make sure your deck does it better and does it first. Yes.
Right, pretty much.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah, the game's about winning. That's the whole point, right? But it's like there's just that bit of me that is like that makes me bounce off of games, especially like again especially early on, right? Especially in the low levels when I assume everyone else is trying to learn. I feel like it's because everyone's trying just to win. I feel like, again, this could also just be the way I learn games. It's like I have no problem with losing. I have an issue with losing in a way that I can't stop, especially early on, because I don't actually get to learn the game.
I get it. I dig it.
Does that make sense? So without me just being sounding like a baby.
No.
It's
Like, I think it makes sense. It's that...
like I understand that people are trying to win. Yes, they're learning how to win, but they're not learning how to deal with a bad situation, in my opinion. And especially in a game, especially in a card game that can get very, very deep, right? I'm not talking about just Yu-Gi-Oh, Master Guy, any card game that requires any little inkling of strategy, right? You have to learn how to be on the back foot as well, which I think that especially in the low ranks, people will just leave if you just you deal with one thing they don't want to play anymore. Now, I know it seems I was pretty down on Yu-Gi-Oh! Most of this episode. Again, I have no problem with the game. If you enjoy the game, go ahead and play it. I did try to go back to the game like a week later afterwards again. And again, I had a good time. And then something happened, and I was like, yep, okay, I do not like this game. Again, more of essentially what I consider BS in terms of how the game plays versus what I do and don't like. But yeah, it's fine. We're not always going to agree on whatever we put out here for the podcast. And so this last set of clips comes from our longest running series, if you want to call it that. But I brought Jeff into the world of John Wick.
and Jeff had an ongoing bit that he loved to call back on, which it was just so stupid, but I did find it very funny, and but yeah, like now that I've got him into the world of John Wick, we all enjoy it, good stuff. Go watch John Wick 4, and here we go. Here's the last section here we have for you guys.
And now all I have are my, pack of 12 generic ass pens here.
Yeah, the Bic or just up and up Target pens or whatever.
Not even. I don't even get Bic. I get Caliber.
Caliber.
Shout outs to Caliber.
I don't even know what that is.
Sponsor the pod.
Is it any good?
Yeah, I mean they finally get the job done.
They sponsor the pod. Of course they're good. Yes.
Right. Of course.
It's funny. Yeah, it's because now as an adult we only write with pens, right? But I hated writing with pens. I prefer writing with pencil, and I still do to this day. Something about the friction of it on paper just changes for me.
And it's not the finality of it, I think, too, is the big thing. You can erase pencil.
Yeah, I'm not good with committing to pen because of it. Speaking of committing, have you ever heard of a man of focus, commitment, and sheer fucking will?
Rocky?
Well, he's also one of them. Yes, he is also. I guess this covers a much wider umbrella of people than I thought it was initially going to.
Yes.
But segueing, clearly perfect segue into our topic for this episode, is the man of focus, commitment, and sheer fucking will, John Wick.
Oh, I've been meaning to watch these videos, these movies. This is exciting.
And I was genuinely upset when I found out you hadn't watched this yet.
Man, you get busy, you get into a relationship, you get married. Sometimes it's harder to watch cheesy action movies.
Cheesy action? You will not slander this
all
movie.
All right. My bad.
Okay.
Just action movies. I'm just used to always watching cheesy action movies, so everything gets lumped into there. Yeah, I mean, for it kind of gets like that, right? Where the second one sometimes is the darling, sometimes the first one's the darling, sometimes the third one is, sometimes the fourth one when he fights the big guy from Russia and he beats him and saves the world. Sometimes that's the best one by far.
Jeff, Rocky 4 is the worst of the Rocky movie. Not the worst. It's not as good of a Rocky movie as you think.
We're gonna have to talk about this. We're just gonna have to hammer this out one of these days.
We know 5 is bad. We that's fine. 5
is bad.
We all understand that. But 4 is not as good as you think it is.
4 is better than you think it is.
I'm sure there's probably a middle ground here, but like you need to hop off 4's dick. So.
Nope, never in my life. Best soundtrack, maybe the best soundtrack, but definitely the most fuck yeah America of the movies.
Man, Rocky 1's training montage is so much better. Like I don't care what anyone
I'm not gonna deny that the movie that won an Oscar is better in certain things than a movie that didn't. But I'm just saying. And moving forward, barring any sort of miracle, I guess, or unless, the guy in charge rewrites the rules or, lets John fart on somebody's balls or something, right?
That's just gonna be written into John Wick 4.
That's basically what happens in John Wick 4. He farts on somebody's balls, and so he gets.
We spoiled the movie for you guys. I'm sorry.
He gets excommunicadoed again.
We saw a screener. We figured it out. I'm sorry, guys.
I talked to Keanu. He ate his weight in Taco Bell the night before. And...
We got a wide panning shot of the Statue of Liberty reminding us that we're still in New York. Reminder, at the end of John Wick 2, John was labeled excommunicado, and we watched John running towards the city, right? And catching the attention of a bunch of casually dressed assassins mixing into the crowds.
Because he farted on someone's balls.
God damn it, shut up. No, he didn't fart on anyone's balls. God damn it. I paused because I saw Jeff, I thought he was sneezing, and I was like, I'm gonna pause and let him sneeze. No, and he comes back to fucking bring back the bit from the last episode. Fucking hell. Ugh.
All right. Okay. Good. Hey, thanks so much for listening to part 1 of our anniversary extravaganza. We really hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane. We'll see you next week for part 2. And yes, in case you are wondering, I am recording this at 6:43 in the morning on a Bluetooth headset in my car so I don't wake my child.
the things I do for you people. So make sure you rate, subscribe, review, share with a friend, and keep listening and keep enjoying what we're doing. Thanks.